Good morning, my YouTube viewers. It is Crystal here, and basically what we're covering in this video is we're covering lesson 3 of my advanced Excel course. And what we're going to be covering is we're going to be covering Power Pivot. So in lesson 2, we covered Power Query, and Power Query was where you took a spreadsheet or data from outside of Excel and you imported it into Excel, and you could manipulate the spreadsheet so you could clean up the spreadsheet. And then in addition to that, if you took that spreadsheet from outside of Excel and you modified that spreadsheet from outside of Excel, you could go into Excel and you could refresh it, and then what had been modified outside of Excel would be modified inside Excel. So those are some good things about Power Query. But personally, when you're talking about cleaning up data and stuff like that, personally, I think that the data should be clean when you get it. But of course, that's not always the case. But that's just my opinion, because they were giving you some fields, and so you were able to fill the data, which I'm not 100% about that. You're able to replace values, but I think that you should look to inputting the correct data before you actually input it, and that's just my opinion. So we left Power Query, and now we're going to go to Power Pivot. And in Power Pivot, what you're going to do is you're going to take several spreadsheets from outside of Excel, and you're going to import them into Excel. You're going to create a model with the several spreadsheets that you have imported. And this is supposed to be a high-tech replacement to VLOOKUP and XLOOKUP. So Power Pivot is good if you have several spreadsheets and you want to take all those spreadsheets and combine columns and into one spreadsheet, and then create a pivot table, create KPIs, that's key performance indicators, and do formulas. And the difference between Power Pivot and just using a regular Excel spreadsheet is, one, you're able to link the values in several spreadsheets, and two, when you write a formula, you only write the formula once, and that formula is input into the entire column of data. Whereas when you're using a regular spreadsheet in Excel, then you have to copy and paste that formula. So it's not necessary to copy and paste the formula in Power Pivot. It does it automatically. So now that you're in advanced Excel, you should already know how to get into Excel and open files, amend files, save files, close files. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. But what we're going to do first thing is I'm going to show you the files that we're going to be using in Power Pivot. Okay, so I've been studying Power Pivot. I don't really use Power Pivot in my job because the spreadsheets that I'm given, they have about 5,000 rows in them. And then when they have 5,000 rows in them, I have to filter them out to get like maybe 110 rows of data. And then I personally use VLOOKUP. And the reason why I use VLOOKUP is because the Excel that I'm using at my place of work is Excel 16. So because it's Excel 16, it doesn't have XLOOKUP in it, so I'm just using VLOOKUP. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the I'm going to show you the spreadsheets that we're going to be working on. So I had one spreadsheet, the spreadsheets that we're going to be using. I'm going to show you the Advanced Excel course. And the reason why I'm going to show you the Advanced Excel course is because I actually preparing for this lesson, I actually did my work in the Advanced Excel course, and I used the PowerPoint, Power Pivot products, Power Pivot orders, and Power Pivot customers. But and I also created, I don't think I created a course. A spreadsheet. I was thinking about creating a spreadsheet that said Power Pivot sales reps, but none of the columns in the sales reps spreadsheet linked to the Power Pivot products, orders, and customers. So I decided not to do that. But if you looked in my lesson 1 and lesson 2 of my Advanced Excel course, you would have seen that I had a spreadsheet full of sales reps. So what I'm going to do is, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Excel course, the Advanced Excel course, try to get into it. It's just taking a little while to get in. So this is what I did. This is actually what I did in the coursework to prepare for this lesson. But I did it just to prepare for the lesson. But in this lesson, I'm going to open up a brand new. It's just taking a little while, because it's got a lot of data in it. So you can see this is what I did. This is the pivot table that I created and what I did. But what we're going to do, I'm going to do it all over again for you. So we're going to do the project timeline. So today is 23 August. So today is 23 August 26. We completed it. Let's see what we've got for our 23 August. So yeah, so I'm just saying that I finished it because when I finish this video, I'm going to upload it. And then when I've uploaded it, the course will be complete. So you can see that prior to starting this course, I studied Power Pivot took some videos on Power Pivot to study it. And then that's why it only took me 5 days in this occasion. But we're going to close this. Because what we're going to do is we're going to do it all over again. So we're going to completely recreate what I did. So I'm going to take Power Pivot Sales Demo. So that's the file that I've created for this course. So here's your Power Pivot Sales Demo. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go into data. If you've got like a new version of Excel, which I have a new version of Excel. The reason why is because I pay for it, even though I'm on the breadline. I still pay for Microsoft Office, so I can use Microsoft Office to make courses and also in my professional life. So sometimes I have to do things on my own time, and so it's good for me to have Microsoft Office to use in my own time. So I pay for Microsoft Office for that purpose, even though I'm pretty much living in poverty myself. So we're over here in data, and then we're going to say get data. We're going to say some file, and we're going to insert Excel workbooks. So we're in get data. We're going to open some files. So we're going to import products. So we're going to import the spreadsheet that says products, and you can transform the data. And then if you transform the data, then you're going to go into Power Query, which we were in Power Query in the last lesson. So we're not going to transform it. It's the way we want it. So we're just going to load it. And then we're going to import another file. So we imported products. So now we're going to import customers. We're going to click on to customers, and we're going to load the data. And when you were in Power Query, you transform the data, but this data is the way we want it to look, so we're just going to load it. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go back into data, we're going to go into get data, and we're going to load the last file that we're going to be using. And so we're going to load orders. So we're going to import it. Going to click on to orders, and we're going to load it. So we've got these 3 files loaded into the system. So we're going to go into Power Pivot, and we're going to click onto the data model, and we're going to manage the data model. So our data model has got 3 files in it. So now we are in Power Pivot. I'm just going to move this over here. And now we are in Power Pivot. So now that we are in Power Pivot, what we want to do is we want to view the data. So this is turned off. So we've got it in. I'm going to say manage. So basically what we've done is we've got the multiple tables. We've got a data model. We've got to select the data source, and you've got to refresh. You can refresh data in the data model table. So I just clicked on add to data model because it didn't come up automatically. So I clicked add to data model. So we've got orders that we're going to add to data model. And then we're going to take customers. So, sorry, we had customers that we added to data model. So we're going to import orders. So it says it's all there. So let's see what it's done. The only thing we got is orders. So it's not coming up. I mean, it says I try to add it to the data model. It says manage. So what we're going to do is we're going to save it. And we're going to go to data view. We're going to go to diagram view. And so basically, although it says add to data model, the only thing that we've got, what we're going to do is we're going to refresh all. We're going to refresh it. So the only thing that we've got is the one data model. So we're going to take the only thing we've got in there is orders. So we're going to take the customers, we're going to try to add it to the data model again. So you have to click on the customer, you have to click onto the customers, and we're going to go to products, and we're going to add that to the data model again. So now we've got orders, customers, and products. So what we're going to do is we're going to save our work. And the reason why is because when you have Power Pivot turned on, then it doesn't save automatically. So I just saved my work. So now we're in data view. And now we're going to do diagram view. So we've got the diagram view here. And this is where you link the columns of data. So you can move it over. And what we're going to do in this instance is we're going to link our columns of data. So you've got your customers, your orders, and your products. So in the customers and the orders, the customer ID is common. So we're going to take the customer ID, and then you're going to move it over to customer ID in orders. So now you've got a link to your customers and your orders. And then so we've got a little problem here. What we're going to do, we've got product description, and we're going to link that to product description and products. So now you've got the three tables of data linked to each other. But we're going to go back here to data view, and we've got customers and you've got orders. Now you've got extra columns in orders, which I don't want them there. So you're going to so it's not allowing me to delete the columns in this instance. So I'm just wondering So the orders, it's not going to allow me to delete the orders. And the reason why it won't allow me to delete the orders is because when I click onto the column, it says the delete columns doesn't work. So there's not actually anything in the columns, but it's not going to allow me to delete the columns. So we're just going to go ahead and do what we had previously been doing. So you've got your order ID, your product description, units sold, and you've got your date. So we're going to set the date type is date, and then we're going to set the format to just the date. The only thing we want is the date. So we've set the format to the date. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and say that your orders are your order ID, your product description, which I think is a bit unusual for the order ID, but that's what it's giving you is your order ID, your product description, your unit sold, and your date. So we're going to take column 6, and what we're going to say is we're going to say something like revenue per unit sold. So it's going to be revenue per unit sold. Okay, so we've got our revenue. So it's going to be equal, so we're going to put a formula in there. So we're going to say equals. Says you have renamed a column in the table in the data model that is linked to an Excel table. If the Excel table is updated, your change will be overwritten. To avoid having your changes overwritten, change column names in the Excel table instead of the data model. So we're going to save what we've done, and then we're going to actually go back to, because it's orders where we are. It's orders where we are. So we're going to go back to orders. And I don't know why it has given me extra columns. I don't know why it has done that. So you've got 1, 2. So you've got customer ID, order ID. Let's come back here. So it says order ID, but it doesn't have customer ID. So that's strange. It gives you the customer ID, but not the order ID. So I'm gonna just delete these. We're gonna delete them. So it didn't actually input the table correctly either. So we're going to say customer ID is customer ID is C0028. And then we're going to go over to customers. So we've got C0027 on customers, but we don't have C0028 on the orders. So that's going to cause a problem. So let's say C0028. So we said Metal Marvin was the last customer. And then so we're going to say the next customer is going to be Tracy Renee. So that's going to be Tracy Renee at email.com. So we're saving it. So we're going to go back to the Power Pivot and we're going to refresh all. So it's refreshing all three. So 3 were refreshed successfully. So we've got orders. For the orders, you've got your customer ID, your order ID, your product description, your units sold, and your date. And it's still giving me columns 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, which is not something that I want. Customers, so we refreshed it. Customers, it says Metal Marvin, so we're going to refresh this again because it should be C0028 now. So now what looks like has happened is it's looked like expression in the column 6 of the table wasn't found. So we're going to say okay, because we don't want column 6 anyway. Expression column 6 of the table wasn't found. So we're going to say okay. So we're going to go back down to customers. So yeah, so now we've refreshed the customers. And let's refresh the products. Although I haven't done anything with the products, we'll go ahead and refresh it. So go back to orders and we still have we've got 28 orders. And we've got 28 customers, so 28 customers. or 54 orders, but still column 6 isn't there. And it's not going to allow me to delete a column. So delete columns not there. And it's not allowing me to delete a column. So we go back to diagram view. We're going to try to cut it, see what happens. Says the column name, so it's not going to allow me to delete the columns, and it's not going to allow me to do anything to the columns. So that's not very nice, is it? So we've got orders. It won't allow you to delete the columns. So let's see what we've got here. So it says you can hide a column. If the column is unnecessary for analysis, edit in Power Query. And if the column is unnecessary for analysis, edit the query in Power Query before loading to Power Pivot. So I think what we have to do is we have to go back to Power Query. So we go to Data, and then we're going to go into Power Query. So we come over here to Power Query. Say Edit. So we're going to do all this. So now that we're in Power Query, we're going to go to Orders. It says an unexpected error occurred. So we're going to go to 6. We're going to remove it. says an unexpected error occurred. So we've got an unexpected error. So since we've got an unexpected error, the only thing that we can do is so we're going to remove a column here, remove this column, so we've got an error here. It says an unexpected error has occurred. So I'm thinking that the best thing to do in this instance is to, here's our orders. Delete it, try that. And we're going to save it because it doesn't automatically save in when you're in Power Pivot. So we're going to be in Power Pivot, and so we're in order, so we're going to refresh. Okay, so it's refreshed. So now we're in orders and we've deleted the column. So basically what it's telling you is you have to actually go back into the table on the tab in Excel, because it will not allow you to refresh, delete columns when you're in Power Pivot. So that's what it's telling you. So yeah, so we spent a lot of time doing this, but at least you know what to do. You're going to go into the table where you've loaded it into Excel, and you're going to delete the columns there. So, but I honestly don't know why it had those extra columns anyway, because you could see that it didn't have the extra columns in the actual spreadsheet, but somehow or other it came up there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add a column, and we're going to say, so we're going to say revenue per order with this new column that we're going to add. So we're going to say equal, so we're going to write a formula, and we're writing it in DAX. That's called Data Analysis Expressions. DAX is the computer programming language used in Power Pivot. So equals, it's going to be units sold times related related. And then it's going to be products. It's going to be revenue per unit. And you can see that the difference between Power Pivot and regular Excel is whenever you type the formula in the first row, it updates that formula in all of the other rows, which means you don't have to copy and paste. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the type of data for units sold. It's going to be a currency. No, sorry, it's not going to be a currency. It's going to be a whole number, sorry. So it's going to be a whole number. But we're going to take the revenue per order and we're going to change that. And we're going to take the data type is currency. And then we're going to click on the currency. And we're going to say formatting. So we say currency. We're going to say decimal number. And so that's going to take out the pound sign because I don't want the pound sign in there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cost per order. So it's going to be equal, that letting you know you're putting a formula in there. So it's a little bit close to Excel formula, so that's good. So we're going to say units sold times related. And that's just letting you know that it's in another table. And it's going to be products, and it's going to be cost per unit. And then we're going to change it over to a currency. We're going to format the column so it's a currency. And we want to take out the pound sign. So it's going to be just there. And then we're going to say next column is going to be gross profit per order. Okay, so we're going to put another formula in there, equals, let you know it's a formula. It's going to be units sold times, you're going to say related, because that lets you know that it's on another table. And you're going to say gross profit per unit. Or you don't even have to do that. You don't even have to do that. We can do it another way. We're going to say equals revenue per order minus cost per order. And then we'll do it that way. So there are several ways that you could do it. You could either multiply the number of orders by the gross profit per order in another table, or you could say revenue per order minus cost per order. But we're going to format the numbers so it's in currency, but we want it to be a decimal number. So that's what we've got in our orders. And so what we want to do is you want to know how many orders you've got. So we're going to put a measure in there. We're going to put a measure in there. It's called a measure. And so what you're going to do is you're going to say equals count, because we're going to count the number of orders, and order ID. Order ID. So you count the number of orders. So you've got your measure, it's counting the number of orders. So you've got 54 orders. And so you can say over here where it says measure 1, you can say num orders. And then, so what that's doing is that's telling you how many orders you have, and that's a measure. So you can also, and this program is written in DAX, which is Digital Analysis Expressions. So you might want to take a course on DAX, a YouTube video on DAX to find out how to do it. But we're going to say revenue. We're going to say revenue per order. So you can say equals sum, and you know that the functions in DAX are similar to the functions in Excel, but I would still recommend you take a course on DAX just to learn what all you can do in DAX. So we're going to say sum, and then you're going to say orders, and you're going to say revenue per order. And then so here where it says measure 1, you can type, you're going to say revenue. And then you're going to format the number. So it's going to be a currency. You're not going to have, I just want none in there. None. And then we'll keep the decimal places at 2. So now you've got your revenue. And if you want the average, so that's your revenue. And then you can also do the same thing with cost and do the same thing with gross profit. And then we're going to average it now. So you're going to equals average. And it's going to be orders, revenue per order. So this is the average. And then so we're going to say but I'm going to change that. I'm going to say average revenue. And then what we're going to do is we're going to format the number. So it's going to be currency. And so we're going to set it up to where it's none. And then we'll go ahead and keep that. And we're going to say here total. We're going to change this to total. So we're also, what we want to do is we want to calculate the gross profit. So we're going to say equals SUM. And then we're going to say orders, and we're going to say gross profit per order. And then we're going to say total profit. We're just going to call this total profit. And we're going to format the number. So we're going to format it as a currency. And I don't want any and then we'll just do this again. Equals average. So we'll say average. And then we're going to say gross profit. Going to take this to average profit. And then we're going to format the number, make it a currency. So basically now we've got a total revenue, average revenue, total profit, average profit. And then we've got number of orders is 54. And if you want to, you can calculate the number of customers and you can calculate the number of products as well. But we're not going to do that in this exercise. And then so basically, after we've done all that, what we're going to do is we're going to save our work. And the reason why is because when you're in Power Pivot, you can't save your work. So we've done our measures and we created our measures. So now we're going to display the data in a pivot table. But before we do that, let's come over here to diagram view. And so you can see in the diagram view, you've got the measures that you have made as well. So this is our diagram view, and that shows you that the customer ID is linked to customers and orders, and the product description is linked to customers and orders. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to display data in the pivot table. And so we're going to say right here, we're going to say pivot table. We're going to put it in a new sheet. So I'm going to move it over. So we're going to say so we click over here, and what you can do is the difference between a pivot table in Power Pivot and a pivot table in regular Excel is the pivot table in Power Pivot. As you can see, all of the tables that you've imported. So you've got customers, and you've got all of the columns for customers. You've got orders. You've got all of the columns for orders. And you've got products. You've got all of the columns for products as well. So what this pivot table we're going to do is we're going to do it on orders. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to say product description. That's going to be our product description. And then we're going to say gross profit per order. So we want to know what is the gross profit per order of the product description. So you can see that right there. So we've got the gross profit per order. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a key performance indicator. So we're going to save it. We're going to save it because auto save is turned off. But we're going to get a key performance indicator as well. So we come over here to KPI, and we're going to click over here on Manage KPIs. We're going to click over here to New KPI. A KPI stands for a Key Performance Indicator. So we're going to say a measure say total profit. That's what we're going to say. We're going to say total profit, and we're going to say absolute value, and we're going to say 10,000 is our absolute value. And then we're going to click on this. So we're going to be looking at the total profit with an absolute value of 10,000. So anything below 4,000 is red. Anything between 4,000 and 8,000 is yellow. And anything above 8,000 is green. And you can change those numbers if you want to, but I'm just going to keep it just like this. So we're going to say, okay. So now we've got our total profit status. So if it's a 0, it means it's in the yellow range. If it's a 1, it means it's in the green range. And if it's a -1, it means it's in the red range. So we're going to come over here, back to orders. And we've got our total profit. So you can see the total profit. And we've got status. Let's check goal. So we don't want goal. And you've got status. So we're just going to save it again. So you can take the status out, or you can put the status in. So we put the status back in, and you can see that, yellow means it's not quite what you're looking for, because you're looking for 10,000. So 4,000 to 8,000 is in the yellow range. Anything below 4,000 is in the red range. And anything above 8,000 is in the green range. So you can see we've got the status right here. So you can see the KPI, key performance indicators. So you can see the status of what values you need to keep an eye on. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take out the status, because what we're going to do is we're going to create a pivot chart. So you come over here to input, and then you say pivot chart, and it says pivot chart. And what I want to do is make a combo chart. Well, I was going to do a combo chart because whenever I did it yesterday, I had the number of orders. But what we can do is we can come over here on orders. We can say units sold. So that's going to give you your units sold. And then now what we can do is we can make a combo chart, which is what I did yesterday when I was preparing for this lesson. So we go into pivot chart, you can go into combo chart. And so this is what a combo chart looks like. So a combo chart is one, it is the sum of the gross profit per order, that's in your blue, and then your amper is your units sold. So that's how you can create a combo chart if you want to know what the units sold are and what the gross profit is. But if you don't want a combo chart, if you only want to chart just the gross profit per order, then you can go back to orders. And you can take out the units sold. And what that will do is that will enable you to make a chart of the units sold. So we take the pivot chart, click on pivot chart, and you can pick a line, column, a column, or a bar. See what we got here. Maybe a bar chart is nice. We'll do a bar chart. And then you can put the bar chart in there. And then what you can do is you click onto field buttons and you say hide all. So we hide all of the field buttons, and then you can say total profit. And so what that has done is that has given you a pivot table and a pivot chart. Another thing that you can do is you can import a slicer. So we're going to move this over here. I'm going to insert a slicer. And then, so the slicer is going to be on the product description. And you're going to say, okay. So your slicer is based on your product description. So you can click onto the Android smartphone and you can see this is the value of the Android smartphone. You can click onto an Apple computer. You can click onto an Apple laptop. And what it can do is the slicer can either show you what the performance of a particular product. So that's how you can put a slicer in there with your pivot chart. So you can make a pivot table, a pivot chart, and a slicer. And we just did our pivot table on total profit, but you can make another pivot table on units sold. And then that would tell you what the units sold were. And then there's lots of things that you can do. And so that's how you use Power Pivot. So with Power Pivot, you can import the data the same way that you have imported them using Power Query. We did have some problems in the very beginning because I had 4 extra columns and I wasn't sure what to do with it. But I found out that how you deal with that is you actually go into the table of orders. You actually go into the table of orders, and then you delete the columns that way. And then when you delete the columns that way, you refresh it. And then so you can look at the tables in Power Query, and you click on to the Data Model Manage, and that enables you to look at the tables in Power Queries. And you can add columns and put formulas in the columns. You can add measures, and then you can create a KPI from those measures, and you can create a pivot table from the columns, from the data in your Power Pivot, and then you can create a pivot chart, and you can also put slicers in. So me personally, I would only use Power Pivot if I was importing spreadsheets in from different places. But the thing about Power Pivot is it enables you to use lots and lots of data. But in my day job, I don't use lots and lots of data. And so I personally don't use Power Pivot a lot. I really only have used Power Pivot to prepare this course. But you can see what Power Pivot can do. And so it's a good app to use if you've got lots and lots of data, and that's where Power Pivot comes in handy. And the reason why is you just type in a formula once and it will be updated across the whole column, and then you can refresh your data. So if you have data in another spreadsheet somewhere else and you've loaded that data into Excel and you've changed that data in the other spreadsheet, if you type refresh, then it's supposed to refresh it for you. Although it didn't happen in the columns, but it did happen when we actually input some more data. So like if you want to go to customers, we did input more data in customers and it did refresh it. But for some reason, I don't know, it would not allow me to delete the columns. So you had to actually go to the table in the spreadsheet to actually delete the columns. So that concludes this lesson. I know it was quite lengthy, and I hope that you watched it and you got something out of it. And I will be making another lesson for you, lesson 4, very soon. Thank you for watching.